If you are not prioritizing your happiness and well-being, you are going to get knocked down harder, more often, and you will stay down. There's a really simple acronym that everyone listening should write down or put on their phone because it's an easy way to remember it. And the acronym is
Tia Graham is an international keynote speaker and founder of Arrive at Happy.
She's a best-selling author and leadership trainer in positive psychology.
She's worked with dozens of global companies such as Hewlett-Packard, Marriott Hotels, and the American Heart Association.
And has been featured in CNN, Forbes, and Fast Company.
Positive psychology.
Drive potential.
Choose happiness.
we don't like our painful emotions. We will overwork, overdrink, watch TV, get really angry at people. Maybe we do online shopping. Maybe we just do doom scrolling all the time. Humans will do anything to not feel our painful emotions.
If I'm not happy, should I just quit my job?
So,
Tia Graham, welcome to Slay.
thank you. Thank
What
you
a
for having
pleasure.
me.
I'm very excited. I've got a lot of questions to ask you today. This is a great topic, happiness.
This is a very good topic, yes.
The first thing I wanted to ask you, Tia, is what is Arrive at Happy?
Arrive at Happy is my company, and organizations and people hire me to teach them, inspire them about the science of happiness and happiness at work and how to help them grow, achieve their potential, and help organizations grow. And I also, Arrive at Happy also has a membership for high achieving working moms.
Wonderful. What's positive psychology?
Positive psychology, also known as the science of happiness, is the scientific study of what makes humans thrive, what makes life worth living, and it also teaches people how to build resilience, and it takes the knowledge and wisdom of people who are really happy and shares that with people who are not. And it's also the study of the challenging sides of life. So it's not just about the positive. It's also about, the challenges and suffering of being human and how, tools to increase your psychological immune system.
What was it that made you pursue a career in the pursuit effectively of happiness and helping other people with their happiness?
I've always been a very positive, optimistic person. And throughout my life, people have asked me on a regular basis, bosses or friends, how do you stay so happy? Like, what are you doing? And so I remember thinking around age 30, I can help other people become happier. Like, people keep asking me, I think I can help other people. Fast forward, I went back to work as a director of sales and marketing of a hotel here in Los Angeles. And I had just gone back to work after having my second daughter. And I was really struggling with my own happiness, trying to juggle executive career, marriage, little kids, self-care, and everything. And I hired a coach, and I told the coach about this dream I had to create a happiness company. And then she said, well, okay, you should start researching happiness. And so I went and started researching happiness and discovered that there's a science. And I was like, what? That was almost a decade ago. And I've just been obsessed with it ever since and constantly am learning about it. And immediately I was like, oh my God, the whole world needs to know about this. Like, how come nobody's talking about this? Is more important than like math or history or whatever else you learn in school. Like, humans need to learn about happiness.
Super important and super applicable to every single person on the living planet.
Yes.
But talk to me about the science. You have a proprietary 8-step method. What does that involve? What does it entail?
My 8-step method is particularly for leaders of teams, whether you're in a corporation, a nonprofit, association, you are leading people. I will say though, even if you're not a leader, there's so much in the book that's for you too. But it's about the 8 steps are how to choose happiness for yourself and how to elevate your well-being, and also how to have happy team of people that are working together.
So as a CEO, I manage a small team. And like, you know, I hear you when you say like the culture of the company is really important. And especially in the personal training business and fitness business, turnover of staff is extremely high. What can I be doing? What are the steps that I could be taking to perhaps increase or improve the culture and perhaps improve the retention?
Number one is how you show up every single day, because we have mirror neurons and our emotions transfer to other people. You said you are a pretty happy person most of the day, most days, but how you feel directly impacts how they feel, right? And it's not about what you say, it's what you embody. Number one. Number two is knowing that the number one predictor of happiness for all humans, whether you're at work or in your personal life, is human connection. So as a leader, this is about connecting, creating authentic, vulnerable, amazing relationships with your staff, and then creating an environment where they're connecting and building relationships with each other in a positive way. Friendship, psychological safety, etc. In addition, as a leader, you want to ensure that that you are inspiring and supporting people to realize their potential. So understanding their strengths, helping them grow, understanding what are your dreams, what do you want to do, what are your passions, and helping them grow. It's also about coaching them when they make mistakes, right? A lot of leaders will publicly punish, or they will embarrass people, or they will people haven't been taught how to deal with, employees or talent when they're not doing well, right? So it's about using those situations to motivate them to do better, and getting their input. It's also about connecting to purpose. Most organizations exist to make the world a better place. You're making the community a better place with your business, right? So it's making people feel really connected to the purpose. You're not here for a paycheck. You're here to help people, to help society.
What do we stand to lose? Like the everyday person, the average Jane, what does she stand to lose by not taking care of her happiness on a daily basis?
It connects to everything, right? If you don't make it a priority, and you don't make choices to sustain and increase your well-being, your health will suffer. It actually will decrease the length of your life. So it actually could take years off your life. It negatively affects your relationships. So whether that's marriage or with your children, with people that you work with, also the relationship you have with yourself. You will not realize all the different opportunities and potential that you have kind of in the learning and growth, like intellectual well-being area. Inevitably, you'll come across challenges as a human being. And so if you are not prioritizing your happiness and well-being, you are going to get knocked down harder, more often, and you will stay down, right? So we take care of our physical health so that when there's a virus that goes around the world, we're not as sick, right? Or we might not even get sick at all. It's the same thing with our well-being, our happiness, where something could happen. You lose a loved one, or there's a challenge with your child, or you get fired from work. You're going to have tools in your toolbox to be able to deal with those challenges in a better way if you are taking care of your happiness.
What are the practical ways in which we can prioritize our happiness? Like, what are the real life things that we should be doing in order to take care of that area of our lives?
There's a really simple acronym that everyone listening, I think, should write down or put in their phone, because it's an easy way to remember it. And the acronym is SPIRE. SPIRE. And it stands for spiritual well-being, physical well-being, which is your mind and your body, intellectual well-being, relational well-being, relationship with yourself and relationship with others, and then emotional well-being, increasing your positive emotions and having a healthy relationship with painful emotions. Sleep, exercise, and nutrition are it's really hard to be a happy human if you are sleep deprived, if you're not eating healthy food, and you're not moving your body.
Why is that? What impact do a lack of those things have on our
So
happiness?
when we don't sleep 7 to 9 hours a night as an adult, it makes it like changes your lens. It makes us feel more negative and pessimistic. It decreases our bandwidth of our like ability to just be a human being in this modern life. Brain health. I mean, it's just so, so, so important. With exercise, of course, you're getting the endorphins. It's also helping you feel more positive and optimistic. And there's just this constant, I think people really underestimate the mind-body connection. You know, you're not like, yes, it's great to look good, but you're really exercising so that you feel better and that you can feel more optimistic and positive and spread that to others. Food, gosh, like if you eat 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, it's going to decrease your stress by 33%. So all of these painful emotions that we have, whether it's anxiety, stress, guilt, it could go, on and on. Food helps that. Healthy food helps that. So in addition to those, like, let's just say foundational, practicing prayer or meditation, proven to make you feel happier, helping other people. This is like the whole work of the Dalai Lama. Stop thinking about yourself and help others, which is one of the huge reasons why I left corporate and went into this type of work, because I feel happier just by helping other people feel happier, right? So helping others, helping the animals, helping the earth, basically being kind. Other practical ways are learning and growing. So the research shows if you are learning and growing as a human, you're going to be happier. So whether that be learning guitar, learning French, learning Facebook ads for your business, like whatever it is, you are going to be happier by learning. It's researched. A really powerful one that's been life-changing for me over the past 4 years is practicing self-compassion. So in the Western world, we talk a lot about compassion to others, but it's not very strong. There's not a lot of conversation around being compassionate to ourselves.
What does that look like?
So there's this amazing doctor, Dr. Kristen Neff, who's a leading researcher on self-compassion, and it's 3 things. It's mindfulness, so meditating and practicing presence. It's talking to yourself the way you talk to your friend. So when you mess up, like let's say your best employee or your gym leaves, you automatically are like, oh my God, like I did everything wrong. Like I'm probably what did I do? And you start beating yourself up. If you called your best friend and said, oh my gosh, my number 1 trainer just left, your best friend would be like, oh, you are amazing. You have this incredible business. It probably was because they got, it was their life choice. It wasn't you. You're an incredible. They would like pump you up like a cheerleader.
Right.
We can train ourselves to talk to ourselves the way a best friend does.
How do we do that?
Practice.
Wow. How much practice? Are we talking
Well,
like
I'm 4
daily
years
reps?
in and I'm getting really, really good at it. Yes. Think of it like weights. So you can train yourself to catch yourself being really self-critical and being really hard on yourself. And then you go, oh, there's that voice again. There's that inner critic. There's that referee. Thank you very much. I know you're trying to help me, but I'm going to actually say something really kind to myself right now.
Give me an example of the things that come into your mind when you catch yourself perhaps being just a little bit too hard on yourself.
So one of my intentions is to never yell at my daughters, even though both my parents yelled at me a lot. Style parenting. So let's say my kids, and I'm at my breaking point. I'm tired, and I might, say like, "Stop it" to my kid, right? I'm automatically going to go, "Oh God, you bad parent. You were yelling at your kid." But I stop myself and go, "No, Tia, you're a great parent. You just messed up there. You were pushed to your limit, and it's okay that you lost it. You're going to try, you're going to try again tomorrow. Like, it's okay. You're a human."
Do you know what I do, Tia? I do this all the time with Eric. Like whenever I push him to the edge, I always say, do you know what? I was out of line, Eric. I'm really sorry. I was having a moment, but there's no remorse.
So you're apologizing. You're like, yeah, taking.
Sometimes I apologize more to me than I do to him. That's, I think, the problem.
The third piece, I want to say, the third piece of self-compassion is, so mindfulness, talk to yourself like a friend. And the third piece, which is really important, is common humanity. So all 8 billion of us humans on earth are the same. We all have struggles. We all mess up with our husbands or wives. We all mess up with our kids, or we might have challenges at work, or etc. And it's recognizing that you are not this individual human making mistakes. We all do. We all suffer. We all have challenges. And so it's tuning into you're never alone. Like you're not the only one having this challenge with your husband. If we were to tune into all 8 billion, it's happening all around the world.
It's 4 billion having
Right. The second. Exactly. And it's like, recognizing that. And I'll give 2 more little things. Humor is awesome for happiness. My husband, I love watching stand-up comedy, and I just like laugh my ass off for an hour. Another really important one for happiness is accepting our emotions. We don't like our painful emotions. We will overwork, overdrink, watch TV, get really angry at people, maybe have other vices. Maybe we do online shopping. Maybe we just do doom scrolling all the time. Humans will do anything to not feel our painful emotions.
Is it avoidance?
Or we might stuff them down, right? And then guess what? Now you start having chronic back pain or migraines, or you can't sleep, or on and on and on. The emotions are going to come out somehow, right? It's energy, and our mind and body are connected. And this is a journey I've been on for 10 years of being a parent also, of the more and more of accepting, like, I am really anxious right now, and I'm not going to just go to Amazon, or I'm not just going to keep doing my emails, or I'm going to actually, and what's really amazing is emotions actually don't last that long if we let them. There's like a rise and fall, like a wave. So we can get better and better at just pausing and going, what am I feeling? What do I need?
I was literally just going to ask, how do we get there quicker? Because if anything, I think my background in sport taught me really to kind of like push emotions to the side, because there just wasn't any time for emotions. The gun is going to go, or you're going to be sprinting in 10 minutes. And so I think as a young athlete, you're conditioned to be able to just kind of like separate yourself. This is me, got to do this job, and I don't have time for this. As an adult, what I've learned is that doesn't necessarily make you the best human being, or it doesn't necessarily make you the most functioning human being.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely been a process for me, leaving sport behind and allowing the human to flourish.
Yes.
But yeah, how do we get there quicker? One of the things I saw recently was like an emotions wheel. And that was like, I'm a very visual learner. So having like a ton of emotions laid out in front of me that I could kind of pick from to identify what I was feeling.
Yes.
How do we even know what we're feeling? Do we have to practice that?
No, I think most of us grew up with like, you're like happy, sad, angry, frustrated, shy. I don't know. Like there was like 6 or something, right?
Yeah.
There's like over 100 positive emotions and over 100 painful emotions, right? So that's that emotional awareness, just awareness of all the different emotions. And it's like, maybe I'm not happy. Maybe I'm elated. Maybe I'm excited. Maybe I'm not angry. Maybe I'm just like extremely fear. Of course, that's really important. But the best advice I could give, and this is from personal experience as well as studying a lot of Buddhism over the last 4 years, is just stopping. If you're a high-performing person like you, and probably to a lot of people listening, we just spend a lot of our time, and I fall in this bucket too, a lot of our time thinking and doing. But there's so much wisdom in being. But being isn't celebrated or rewarded in our culture. There's no one on the cover of Success magazine for being. And for me, because I am a super fast thinker, always on the go, I had to physically sit on a meditation pillow. Like I can't just do this on the go, right? I had to really train myself to get quiet. And, journaling is also, I could never, like journaling, I was like, I can't do it. So it depends on how you want to do it. But it's about I would say when you're feeling the way you don't want to feel, or when you're reacting the way that you're not proud of, that's a signal, right? Like if you're on Instagram for 10 hours, or you're yelling at your husband, or you're working till 11, like you're not flourishing. The science of happiness is about flourishing.
I feel like it feels like when you're out of body.
I would say out of body, absolutely, and not connected to spirit.
I feel that. Tia, are there any predictors of happiness?
A huge component of our happiness are our genetics. And the research, it used to be like the research 10 years ago was like, about 40% of your happiness is genetics. Well, the latest research is, no, it's closer to like 70. And of course,
wow,
it's not an exact number, right? And science is always going to change. So for everyone listening, if you're not a super happy person, don't feel bad about yourself. Don't be compassionate towards yourself, because a lot of it can be genetics. There's also a component of life circumstances. So if you are a lawyer in New York City working 100 hours a week and never sleeping and never working out and never seeing your friends, your life circumstances are going to affect your happiness, right? Compared to you're like a farmer in China, or all of us have different life circumstances. Those play a part. Those are two very important components, but there's a third component, which is your choices. So humans have agency over our thinking and how we behave. So everyone has these different set points, or these predictors of how happy you are, but the research shows that everyone can make it better for themselves. So someone might be based on their genetics and their life circumstances, they might be at like a 2. Someone else might be at an 8, but that 2 can work to get themselves to a 3 or 4. And I'm a huge optimist, so I believe they can go even way higher. And that person that's an 8 can get to a 10. And then life circumstances are going to come, like obviously the global pandemic or different things that are going to make it challenging for everyone. They're going to like knock everyone down. But what's really awesome is that no matter where you are, if you are learning about the science of happiness and applying the science of happiness to your life, you're going to be a stronger person to weather life's storms and weather life's challenges. Just like if you're really physically healthy, you're going to be able to weather colds and flus better than someone who's not taking care of themselves. So it's this really powerful tool that is available to everyone.
Tia, I find this so fascinating because I've said this briefly before we came in, that I feel that I'm an 8 out of 10 every single day in terms of my happiness. I wake up, I feel, very grateful. I'm happy to kind of jump out of bed at 5 a.m. and get to the gym at 6 and see my first client. Like I'm just in a good place. I feel like that's just always been the case for me.
It's your state.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of people think that I'm lying when I say that I'm an 8. And I can also kind of understand and see how, as I get older, when I look at my family relationships, all of the things I have to do on a daily basis, especially now that my parents have both passed on. So I've inherited a lot more responsibility. And seeing especially the dynamic in my family, and I'm starting to kind of realize just because you have the same parents or you're from the same household doesn't necessarily mean your set point is the same.
No, I have 2 sisters and we all have very different set points.
Very interesting.
Yes, because the genetics coming from different places and the siblings' life circumstances.
What would it take to get somebody whose set point is a 2 up to an 8? How long would it take could it be done? Have you seen it done?
Gosh, I've heard stories of a 2 to an 8 because I've been in this happiness community for a decade, and there's incredible stories. So the first step to get someone from a 2 to an 8, because I absolutely believe it's possible, is their self-awareness that they have agency, that they're not a victim and they're not stuck at a 2 until they pass, right? Because this is an active participatory sport, right? The science of happiness. Like, you can't just give it to someone else. You can inspire people, right? By doing it yourself. But that intrinsic motivation and that belief that they can change, that's step one. And them knowing about the science of happiness, could be the step of like, hey, you're not stuck. And then it would be an analysis of what's going on in their life, all areas of life that's affecting them, that's having them at a 2, and creating this very clear vision of what would an 8 life look like. And knowing that it's not going to happen by next week. And knowing that this isn't something you do alone. The number one predictor of happiness is human connection. So that person at a 2, having the support of friends and family. Now, some family members make us really unhappy. This isn't all family members, right? It's the family members that make you happy if you're lucky enough to have those friends. And then I would say for someone at 2, it's external support. It could be therapists. It could be life coaches. It might be a spiritual guide. It could be being part of a group.
Right. So if you're at a 2, I imagine there's multiple areas of your life that are bringing unhappiness to you, or it might be just one. Well, how do you know what to prioritize if there are multiple things that you're unhappy about all at once?
I would start with relational well-being, relationship you have with yourself and relationship you have with others, because that's the biggest lever you could pull. So friendship, family members, coworker relationships, etc. And then how you treat yourself physically and mentally, right? So that would be like priority number 1. Priority number 2 would be how you're taking care of yourself physically, because everything we do with our body affects our mind. So if you're mentally at a 2, I could make the assumption that you're probably not sleeping, eating, exercising, meditating, having time in nature, practicing gratitude, etc. But I do want to come back and say, if you're at a 2, genetics could also be a huge part. Genetics could be a really big part. So then the self-compassion, understanding about your family history and your childhood and, all of that as well. But I will say that most humans, if you get quiet enough and if you're working with like a coach or a therapist, if you spend time focusing on what's not working in your life and what you want, you have all the wisdom inside of you. You know what's best for you, but sometimes we need a partner to help bring it out. But you're the expert on your own life.
I love that. Now, Tia, according to Gallup's research, 79% of people globally are disengaged while they're working.
Yes.
Why are people so disengaged at work?
So the number one factor that contributes to engagement at work is the relationship you have with your boss. Supervisor, manager, director, executive, CEO. And most bosses around the world have not been taught how to create an environment where employees are happy and employees are engaged. There's this very like authoritarian way of leading and working where it's like, you're not here to be happy, you're here to work. The research shows that emotions drive behavior. So if you want your team members to be selling or to be taking care of customers, etc., they need to be positive and happy at work. So number 1 is its leader. Number 2 is the amount of time we're working. So the happiest workers in the world are in Scandinavia. They work about 37 hours a week, right? So if you're overworking, and in some parts of the world, people are working extreme hours. Inflexibility is also a big driver of disengagement, right? Not being able to have autonomy and flexibility over how you work.
So would you say things like working from home?
Yes.
This has been a humongous topic recently, in the news, with companies calling for workers to return back to the office.
Yes.
What would you say, what was the impact of, working from home, everybody having to shift to potential remote work, social distancing?
Yes.
What does that mean now that people are like, come to enjoy that flexibility?
Yes. Yes. So the latest research, and I follow Adam Grant from Wharton Business School, the latest research shows that for knowledge workers, being in the office 2 days a week with your team so you can have mentorship, coaching, collaboration, creativity, brainstorming, and then having 3 days a week where you can do your own deep work, if you're in like an organization, is the ideal model. Now, if you work at front desk of a hotel, of course, you can't be working from home. You have to be there, and you know that. There's also the awareness of where you are in life. Like I know for me, when I was single, 28, living in Manhattan, I would not want to be sitting in my little apartment. If you are taking care of elderly parents, having flexibility and having some time where you work from home, or you have young children and you want to pick them up from school and take them to gymnastics, that's going to make this working parent thrive. And guess what? They're going to hop back on their computer when their kid goes to bed at 8:30. So it's understanding where your employees are in life, but generally forcing people to be in the office 5 days a week makes people less happy.
So what could an individual do to find more happiness at their current job? What are the things that they should be taking stock of?
Focusing on relationships with your boss and your colleagues, right? We are connected people. So that's, I would say, number one. Number two is taking ownership of your own growth in your career. What do you want to learn? How do you want to develop? Who can help you? Learning and growing makes us happier. We are happier when we're solving problems at work. So instead of like being someone who's complaining like, oh, this is broken, oh, this doesn't work, get involved and try and fix it. That's actually going to make you happier.
I can't stand those people.
Absolutely. Right? It's like
I like solutions people, not problems people.
yes, and
I can't. That
solutions
drives me insane.
people are going to be happier because you're making things work better. I would say also find ways to have fun and it's not just like work. It's also about having time to relax and, I would say have fun at work, let your head out, like, again, bring in laughter and humor at work as well. And to do what you can to make work a better place for others, right? Whether that is like kindness or generosity or being empathetic when someone's having a hard day. And I will say also knowing how and when to disconnect from work.
Oh, great point.
It's really hard to be happy if you're thinking about work all the time. So when you're like hiking Runyon, don't be thinking about work, be talking about something else and have that balance in your mind of other parts of life, because it's really easy to just think about work all the time.
So happiness, if I'm not happy, should I just quit my job?
Depends on your life situation.
Are there things that I could be doing to perhaps stay in the job? What if I need the money? Know
that your happiness at work it's the responsibility of your leader, but it's also your responsibility, right? It's not just the company and the boss's job to make you happy at work, just like in life, you also. So micro example, right? You're unhappy at work. Are you sitting for 8 hours, or are you going to walk in the sunshine for 20 minutes at lunch? Are you doing things to feel happy, while you're there, etc.? If you're completely miserable and you have the financial ability to quit and do something different and work is like killing you slowly, I would say, yeah, probably you should make a change. But how much of it is your perspective and your choices of how you're showing up at work? How much is it of your negative attitude or, whatever? But if it's a miserable place, when when people ask me that and they're in a true situation, I'll take stock and say, okay, it might not be like you're going to go quit tomorrow, but let's work on a plan. I was talking to someone yesterday who wants to work on a plan to do something completely different, but she has 3 kids. So guess what? She's not just going to quit her big executive job. She's going to work over the next 6 months to create a plan to create the dream work that she wants that will have her be happier at this stage in her life. I think having a plan is also a good idea too.
Do you think having a lot of money makes you happier?
So the research shows that wealthy people are happier, but the degree of happiness is a lot smaller than most people think. And our human brains steer us in the wrong direction a lot. Most people think, oh my God, if I had 50 more grand, I'd be way happier. If I had 100 more grand, I'd be way happier. You would be happier, but like to a slight degree, because what makes us happier is our spiritual well-being, our physical well-being, are we learning and growing, our relationships and our emotions. Money affords us more time to have time with friends, or time to travel, or time to, right? If you get a lot more money, but you're still working 100 hours a week and you're miserable at your job, even though now you drive a Ferrari, like you're not necessarily happier. So
is there a money agency continuum?
I'm sure there is, right? But it's, what do you do with your money? If you get more money and you're making the world a better place, like Warren Buffett, probably happier, you know? So I see money as energy, right? It's like, what are you doing with it? And how are you using it to help others and yeah, help yourself.
And what about relationships, Tia? Are people that are married or in a relationship typically happier? If we're talking about this human connection, because I know plenty of people that are in relationships and are unhappy as shit.
So they should get out of those relationships. So yes. So the research shows that married people are slightly happier. It shows that if you're married with young children, you're unhappier. So there's all these different like life stages. Being in a relationship shouldn't be the main goal. It should be being happy with yourself, loving yourself, and being happy with yourself. And once you do that and you keep focusing on that and you find someone who brings you more happiness, like my husband and I have been together 17 years. It's work, as you know, marriage, relationships are work. It takes effort. It's a constant investment. But it absolutely can elevate your well-being. But for someone listening who's in a relationship and the relationship is not allowing them to thrive more than if they'd be on their own, I would say get out of that relationship.
My Auntie Girlie, shout out Auntie Girlie, said to me once in the kitchen, I said to her, why are you still single? She said, Lou, I can struggle on my own. She said, if I'm going to be in a relationship and struggling, I might as well just struggle on my own. God
and you're
bless her.
probably happier struggling on your own than having another person
weighing you down.
I think so.
Now, what about kids? What about children? You started Calm Working Mums. What's that about?
Yes. So Calm Working Moms is a private community for high-achieving working moms who are overwhelmed and stressed out and full of mom guilt and feel like they're not enough at work and not enough as a parent. And so I created this community based on my decade of experience. And in this community, I bring incredible high-achieving working moms together, and they learn and grow from each other. And I also teach them the science of happiness, self-love, and also the science of healing.
What is one of the main things since starting Calm Working Mums to have come out of that kind of community group that is a standout moment for you? Like something that perhaps the women, someone might have said it to somebody else. Is there a moment that really stands out as where you knew you'd really changed people's lives?
So the first thing that comes to mind is this badass working mom who's in finance. And she said, we're all the same. Different industries, different types of work, marriage, these women divorced, age of kids. She's like, we're all struggling with the same same things. I thought I felt so alone for so long. And this woman has friends, this woman has family, but being in this community where you could be really vulnerable and really authentic and there's no judgment, right? It's just this safe space. So that of just this awareness of like, I'm never alone. Like, here's this group that gets it. And the other standout thing is just these women through this community and through the teaching I'm doing are just doing awesome, incredible things, like leaving their job where they're unhappy and starting a new company, or inspiring their husband to start exercising and working out and taking care of himself that he hasn't done in, several years, or a husband and wife booking a trip for 7 days and they haven't been away from they haven't had alone time in 4 years and they're going to the Caribbean for a week and their kids are obviously going to be fine. Just choosing themselves, making all these choices to choose themselves, knowing it's going to benefit them, their career, their marriage, their kids.
Speaking of holidays, you worked in hotels for 14 years. Are people happy when they go on vacation?
No, most people are pretty happy when they're on vacation.
I feel like sometimes you can be on vacation and you see some blazing rows going on there.
Yes.
Why does that happen?
Yes. I mean, I keep thinking like someone really unhappy on vacation, there's like big genetics at play, right? Because like just the act of being on vacation, hopefully with people that you love and you're in a different place. But anyway, yeah, I think there's other things going on for someone to be in a real negative headspace on vacation.
I'm definitely at my best when I'm on vacation.
Me too.
And I can honestly say, like, Eric is like vacay bay. If we're going on vacation, let's say it's a week away, he shuts down 2 weeks out. Like, I can see him already like mentally packing his suitcase. Right. His mood starts to lighten, and he gets all kind of blasé and he's just laughing and joking. And I'm just like, Eric's ready for his vacation. Yeah. He's got not a care in the world. Yeah. Any other time of the year and he's just like on, right. You know what I mean? Like on, ready to go. But fortunately we have exercise in our lives, so that kind of helps. So what about exercise? Some people hate it.
Yes, a lot of people hate it.
But we know that exercise is supposed to make you happier.
Yeah. Like, it is vital. It is like so crucial.
So what do you say to all those people who completely despise work? Because we're just about to start a running club.
Oh, cool.
And most people say to us, I don't like running. And I'm like, don't worry, there's a walking element. And then they go silent. And I'm like, so you could walk, you could just do that. But what do you say to somebody who despises exercise, but you know that there's so many benefits there for them? Mm-hmm. How do you coach someone through that?
The act of exercising, right? Like, let's take running or weightlifting or like an intense yoga class. Like, when you're running super fast, or you're lifting heavy weights, or you're like stretching your body in these crazy positions, in that moment, you're not like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, it definitely feels better to be chilling on the beach with a margarita, right? For sure. It's the knowing and understanding of what it's going to do right after and what it's going to do for the rest of your day, right? So that's why I'm such a huge advocate of doing it in the morning. Like, before you start thinking about it, just like do it. So for someone who hates it, I would say start really, really small and be super self-compassionate with yourself. Talk to yourself the way you would with a friend. So if you're not doing any exercise, going for a 15-minute walk is a start. For someone who exercises a ton, you're gonna be like, what? That's not even exercise. No, that's awesome. Celebrate the shit out of that 15-minute walk and congratulate yourself. And because actually one of the women in my community, I'm doing this with her right now. Don't make big goals, right? I think of like the habit stacking and like take baby steps and just see how you feel. And if you set a goal, like I'm going to walk 15 minutes every day, let's say you only do that 3 days a week. Instead of beating yourself up and being like, I'm an idiot, I'm never going to exercise. No, stop that inner critic and say, you did 3 days. Awesome. Let's try again next week. Maybe next week, let's try 4. You're amazing. Keep going.
I love that, Tia. Like, I feel like I need you to come and just sit in the gym with me
I would
every
love to.
single day and just be the motivator for everyone. When I start throwing extra reps at people, you just jump in and you be that voice. That would
But
be
it's so
awesome.
good having someone else. I love working with trainers because it's so great having someone there as that external voice being like, you can do it. Because that person will push you more than.
So would you say that people that typically have a lower set point would benefit from, say, having a personal trainer in their lives? Because one of the things that I see in the gym, and I get a lot all the time, is people telling me how pivotal I am to their transformational journeys, their recoveries from cancer, their, day to day. I don't know how I could do it without you. And I always kind of brush it off. I'm like, you're doing all the work. And I don't think I actually take the time sometimes to really let the impact of what we do as trainers really seep in.
Yeah. Because you're not a physical trainer. You are a happiness, holistic.
All the things.
Yeah. And you are inspiring because they're changing their body and they're changing their mind. And if you're changing your mind, you're changing your life, right? You're changing how they think, how they act, etc. So, yeah, definitely give yourself more credit and stop. And here's another part of happiness: savor what they're saying to you. Savoring good things in your life is another component of happiness because our brains have a negativity bias. Our brains are not designed to make us feel happy. Our brains are designed to keep us alive and keep us safe. Some people have stronger negativity biases than others. So when someone gives you a compliment, our brain naturally goes, yeah, good. Okay, we're going to the next thing.
Survival mechanism.
But you stop and you could train yourself to go, I'm amazing. My client just said this.
I'm just going to take that pat on the back.
And everyone that works for you, you can talk about savoring the good every day. What are the little things? Just like gratitude, what you focus on grows. If you focus on what you have versus focus on what you don't have, your gratitude will grow. So stop and take those compliments in.
I'm going to do that, Tia. I love it. Happiness. Isn't it just unrealistic to be happy all of the time?
Yes.
Why is that?
There's a small percentage of humans that are generally happy all the time. And there's also a big chunk of people who are rarely happy or never happy. And we haven't talked about people like bipolar, schizophrenic, or, that have depression. Like there's some people that are dealing with very, very serious things that you can't just be like, hey, be happy, right? But for the big chunk that's in the middle, all these millions of people, being a human being is this journey of happiness and challenges and suffering, and happiness and challenge. There's the positive and the painful, And that's what the human experience is, right? If you just think about the very basic thing of death, whether it's people you love or confronting your own, or sickness, or financial stability, or things going on with your children, or what's happening around the world with wars, right? Like all these experiences of human, or what's happening to our planet. Like it's not just rainbows and unicorns. Being a human is really challenging. But what I've learned over the past, especially over the past 5 years, is that when we go through suffering, and when we are suffering emotionally and psychologically, it's actually the greatest window to growth and wisdom. So to accept it, and don't try to be happy all the time. I'm a happiness expert. I speak about happiness. I talk about happiness. I'm not happy all the time.
Can it be as toxic? Can we be toxically happy?
Yes, toxic positivity and toxic.
Is that as bad as being depressed, effectively?
Ooh,
Is
I
it
don't
like
think it's as bad as being depressed, because when you're depressed, depression is sadness without hope. So when you're depressed, you're really sad and you feel that you're going to be sad forever.
I feel like depression is very debilitating.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe, am I right in thinking like toxic positivity or this toxic happiness is again, the same thing as not really accepting all of your emotions?
Yes. And you're also pushing it to others, and that nobody wants toxic positivity or this pushing of these positive emotions. Like, it's okay, you just lost your job. Like, be happy, don't worry. And it's like, no, I just lost my job and I am sad and I am grieving and I am anxious and I'm afraid and I am angry and like, yes, you should. So the toxic positivity and happiness is not accepting the full human experience and all the emotions. And I probably was a little toxic positivity in my 20s because I have a sister who definitely is not. And I think I unintentionally was like, hey, because I was so at a level 9 all the time, like, because then there was nothing going on in my life. I wasn't suffering at all. And so I didn't have the empathy to understand suffering. So I think you can also do it unintentionally, not being aware.
What happens if we don't find happiness in our lifetime?
If we don't find it, my personal belief is that you haven't fully lived as a human. That this experience that we're here on earth for. One of my professors said happiness is the ultimate currency, and I believe that most humans want it and are trying to achieve it. And a lot of times we do things to try and make ourselves happier, but we actually do the wrong thing.
It ends up making us feel worse.
Yes, because, and also be aware that we are getting messaging all the time telling us things that will make us happier, and they actually don't, right? So like,
I feel like makeup, the beauty industry.
Makeup and beauty industry, I would say shopping for anything, right? Like, if you have this handbag, it's going to make you happier. Is it? Like, that's not on the SPIRE acronym, right? Status and power, right? Like title and this, or car industry, or any industry where it's
cars,
like,
that's a good one. Status plays.
Yeah, a lot of the status, like humans think it's going to make you happier. Now, I'm all for achievement. I want to achieve. I'm a very driven person, always have been, always will be. But I'm not doing it right to get a Mercedes. So it's like, why are you driven? I'm driven because I want to make the world a better place. And maybe there's status that comes with that, but like, that's not the why.
Yeah, that's not the purpose.
Yeah, the purpose.
Now, Tia, I didn't know whether you knew this, but our slogan at Slay is own your body, transform your life. And the reason I came up with that was simply because I knew that there was a power behind our abilities to exercise, move, and train physically that had a positive transfer in the way that we show up in the world. And so the final question that I want to ask you, Tia, is what did you come to Slay?
I came to Slay acceptance of the human experience. And I would also say care for your mind as much as you care for your body. I'm sure you talk a lot to your clients about what they're putting into their body and how they're taking care of the body. Where we are right now, we're being bombarded with so much information, and we have to be careful with what we're consuming in our stomach, but also like into our minds.
100%. Tia, thank you so much for joining us on the Slay podcast. So many tidbits, so many bars, so much wise advice. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
That concludes this episode of Slay. Stay tuned for more empowering discussions on female health, fitness, and life. You can follow me at Louise Hazel on social media, and you can follow Tia at arrive@happy. You can also follow the Slay Gym at Slay Athletic Club, and don't forget to subscribe to the Slay podcast if you haven't done so already on YouTube, and leave us a comment. You can also get fit at home using the Slay app. You can hit the link in my bio and download that now for free from the App Store and join our online community.